Hello, everybody. Welcome to Under the Arch Sports. I'm Eric Hobbs,
Not David Woldingen.
and it is time to preview Week 2 for Mizzou football. This week, the Tigers take on the Blue Raiders of Middle Tennessee State. Before we get into that, please, guys, go ahead, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and find us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, Twitter. So Missouri is coming off of a 35-10 win over South Dakota, in which, there was good, there was some, not so great maybe, but I think the biggest takeaway, David, is that after the performance of Brady Cook and the performance of Sam Horn, after Tuesday's press conference, there is no more quarterback competition or controversy.
Yeah, Cook is your starter, and I think it's a good call in the sense of now you don't have that battle overhanging this game against Middle Tennessee. You can go in and get to work, prep, do the things you need to do for the offense to get comfortable, get used to each other, and get prepped even more so for the Kansas State game next week after Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, for people upset with the offense, anything else, I mean, yes, he did not throw a bunch of deep balls, but at the same time, in one half, he threw for 172 yards, and the offense put up 28 points. You extrapolate that out to have him playing a full game, including the time where they're killing the clock because they're up by 1,000,000. He's still probably throwing for close to 100 yards or 300 yards, and that completion percentage was outrageously good. So there's plenty good there. And as we were just talking about a second ago, this is a good progression. Middle Tennessee State is for Brady Cook, going from an FCS team where he showed that he is developing. He's going through his progressions better. The game looks slowed down for him. Now he's going to what should be a little bit better defense, a Conference USA defense. I think it's a good, I won't say measuring stick, but it's a good chance for him to demonstrate progress, and it was not a fluke.
Yeah, you're going up against a better defense. Things are going to be a little bit quicker. It's also going to be a test for the offensive line because, I mean, they just manhandled South Dakota. So now we get a better chance.
Real quick, one last point on quarterback before we go to offensive line. I could see the segue happening. That was a good one, too. I hate to spoil it. But with Brady Cook, a part of the reason he didn't throw the deep ball against South Dakota was they played cover two safeties. That's what the defense is designed to do, right? Just keep everything in front of you. Well, I want to see him challenge the Middle Tennessee State defense, even if they are in a cover two, especially if they're cover one. But so even if they're in a cover two, I want to see him try, because you can't go the entire season and just say, oh, well, they're in a cover two. Guess we're not throwing deep. That won't work. This offense is not good enough for that. They have to be able to challenge down the football field in SEC play, even if the opponent's in a cover two.
And Eric, I would counter that with you gotta make the proper play calls against the cover two defense to challenge that. So I don't think the calls were set up to challenge a cover two defense in the first place. That's also why I don't think the ball was thrown. But anyway, moving on to offensive line. They had some good, they had some bad last week. Again, the challenge is stepping up. Javon Foster, Connor Towson were probably the two best rated offensive line we've had in a long time, just out their play. I want to see him continue that. If they can, it's a good sign for Mizzou. One of their big issues last week is they had quite a few procedural and holding calls. I'd like to see him cut down on that.
Yeah, 4 penalties against the offensive line.
Yeah. If they can cut down on that, that's huge for the season in general, because you're not shooting yourself in the foot, especially in an offense that doesn't have the big play ability.
Yeah, to be fair, one of those penalties was a hold that on the replay looked like a phantom hold, but still 4 penalties. Yeah, and if you can cut those down, it's great. To your point, Connor Tallis and Javon Foster, both in the top 5 for offensive lineman ratings, according to Pro Football Focus. Connor Tallison, #1 center in America. Yeah. Even if he wasn't truly number one, I mean, he was by their metric. Even if he wasn't truly number one, to be ranked number one by anything, he had to have played a really good game, right? The snaps were fine, at least to Brady Cook. It seems like he just didn't have the repetition with Sam Horn, which, all right, fine. But by and large, it looked a lot better. Left side of the line looked great. Right side, a little too keyed up. I think that'll fix itself in time.
On a side note, it's worth noting the top 10 offensive linemen. Mizzou was the only one in the SEC that had anybody in the top 10.
Hey, there you go.
So
Yeah,
good sign. Who knows? It's early on. That obviously will change as the competition goes up.
yeah.
But like I said, I'd like to see him continue to get push with the running game. They did a
Yeah,
great
hey, Coach
job.
Schrader, 138 yards last week.
They did a great job opening up holes. And then I want to throw a shout out to the wide receivers because they made some masterful blocks early on. I remember Burden just laying someone out to open up a big game for one of the other receivers. So the fact that the blocking has improved all around can only help the offense.
Yeah. Now, for the Missouri defense, it, there's not a whole lot to say. They dominated. Uh, it's a step up in competition, but there's no reason to expect this defense to be shredded by any means. I think Middle Tennessee State's going to have a hard time running the ball, in particular because they're an air raid. They are an air raid offense. So running the ball not necessarily their forte, but I think they're going to struggle with it all the same. And hey, Jalen Carlies may well be back. That seemed to be more precautionary than anything, missing the South Dakota game. Chad Bailey out, perhaps back next week, but no mystery for this game. He is out. We started to say for Middle Tennessee State, they played Alabama last week. They got smashed 56-7. By the time they scored, it was 42-0, and then their touchdown came late in the third quarter. Their quarterback Vadiato, 35 pass attempts. They had 211 yards of offense as a team. Is Missouri's defense as good as Alabama's? Probably not quite, but there's no reason that they can't put on a similar type performance. It's all about Rakestraw and Chris Abrams-Drain. I think that's going to be a big part of it, how they perform.
Yeah, agreed. I think another key again for this week is can our defensive ends get pressure on this quarterback? You're talking
Johnny
more
Walker.
you're talking more of an air raid offense. It's a good opportunity to go against Division One players now, essentially, and see what you got with your defensive line and defensive ends.
Yeah, and that's the mystery for this defense is defensive end, edge rushers. As you said, Johnny Walker, Joe Moore, Niles Gaddy, they'll get them. Let's see what happens. Picking could be interesting in this game, David. The kickers, the kickers for both teams when it combined to 0 for 3 on field goals. Harrison Mevis, well documented. That's a concern. Well, Middle Tennessee State's kicker, I didn't bother to learn his name because honestly, I don't care. He missed his one field goal attempt in the second quarter, I believe it was against Bama. 32-yarder, missed it.
Over under on field goals made, I'd take the under.
Yeah. So with that, let's move into our predictions here, David. Night game at Faroe Field. Ticket sales, drink what said, are a little ahead of the South Dakota game. So decent crowd expected, I suppose. And look, the defense maybe not quite as overwhelming as they looked against South Dakota, but you expect them to be solid, and you expect them to really limit an opponent's running game until you see otherwise. So I think that makes the air raid offense totally one-dimensional. And they'll get a little bit. They'll move the ball some, but in the end, I've got Missouri covering, winning big, 44-16.
Right on. I have Missouri covering 38-6. I think the defense is gonna just be lights out again. And I am interested to see how long Cook stays in this game. I think against South Dakota, he moved the offense efficiently for the most part all the way through the first half, and they could have easily ran up the score if not for throwing Horn in for the second half of the game. So it's a matter of how comfortable is Drinkowitz with the score that they have, and when will he pull Cook? One, to keep him protected for the Kansas State game, and two, to get Horn more experience out there. And if not, maybe see some of the other players. I would love to see us go up big so we can see a lot of our backups and get them playing experience, because I know game one, they were focused on that QB battle. So we didn't see a lot of younger guys come in. But I think this is another good opportunity if they get way ahead to see what we have depth wise. In the meantime, I'm looking forward to it. And here's hoping we see a few more deep passes. And until then, we'll just keep you updated with all things Mizzou. Thank you for watching.